I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Board of Education for the School District of Baraboo for Monday, December the 14th, 2015, with roll call. Mr. Cummings.
Here.
Mr. McNevin.
Here.
Mr. Meering is not here. Mr. Mortimer is not here. Ms. Riley will be joining us later. Mr. Vedro.
Here.
And Vodak here. Continue with the pledge. The flag's to the right of the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the November the 23rd, 2015 meeting as printed.
Second.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes thus approved. Brings us to correspondence. Mr. Meering included in the board packet a couple of correspondence between state representatives in regards to Assembly Bill 481 and Senate Bill 355. That is in your board packet. Also, I would like to ask for administrative correspondence from Ms. Miller.
In the board packet, we also included correspondence that was sent to Jack Young Middle School for their Thanksgiving donation. That came from the Methodist Church and Food Pantry. And they indicated that 160 families were able to have a meal at home this Thanksgiving due to that donation.
Any other administrative correspondence? Hearing none brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled Public Viewpoints. Is there anyone here for public viewpoints tonight? Any public viewpoints? Yes.
I'm new to this, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay, the microphone is just to your right in front of you. If you just would stand up and state your name if you're speaking for yourself. Pardon? Pardon?
Open mic night.
Yeah. Whatever you can do in 3 minutes.
Okay.
If you're really good, 4.
My name's David Squire, and I have a senior in high school this year, Sophia. And let's see, that's my preface. This year was the first year you went to the 90, 80, 70, 60 grading system. What happens with the previous 3 years? She was told that there's no adjustment made. And my concern is scholarships for college. Say a student in a different school system that has the 90, 80, 70, 60 gets an 80 in a class. And she gets an 85, which I believe was a C, that old grading system. And the other person gets a B. Okay, now who's going to get that scholarship? The person with the B. I was just wondering if there's going to be some kind of adjustment to the official transcripts. Or if you're just going to keep the previous 3 years where they are GPA-wise.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. Normally at public viewpoints, it's an opportunity for you to address the board. I would like to get your name and information and have Mr. Bilston get in touch with you and further the conversation if that's acceptable to you.
Sure.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public viewpoints? Any other public viewpoints? Any other public viewpoints? Hearing none, I'd like to move on to staff and student community recognition, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Olson. We're going to talk about the Baraboo Public Library, and we've got a lot of representatives of the library here tonight.
We're really lucky with our 4K program, the Bell program, and also our West Kindergarten Center program to work with our Baraboo Public Library. They come and read at all of our sites and classrooms. They also come visiting other times. We have some things we work on regarding school safety as well. We have a partnership that way. We're just really fortunate to have a great group of people at the library to work with, and they help us in so many different ways, whether it's literacy or just promoting that love of learning. So I'll try to introduce here. Hopefully I remember everybody. I should know everybody pretty well here. Meg Allen, Lori, Gail Johnson, Carrie Kipp, and Anna Horhus from the Baraboo Public Library. And we're just really fortunate to have such a great partnership with them, one of the strongest ones I think that Belton West has. So thank you so much for everything you do for us.
And thank you what you do for the entire school district. You help us promote a culture of literacy. That's one of our goals, and we can't do that alone. So thank you for your efforts.
Well, it's a great honor, and we really appreciate the opportunity to help out with the very youngest students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just wanted to add too, I've worked with them on some other projects too, and they do a lot to provide many, many learning opportunities for everyone in the community. I think most everybody here knows that, but they have so many great programs for little kids all the way up to older adults. So hope just putting a plug in for them too. There's a lot of great things going on there, and hopefully folks from our community and from our area take advantage of all the great things. So can you join me in giving them a big round of applause for
Next up, we have with us a number of teachers from the Jack Young Middle School and the Baraboo High School, and we're going to have a discussion and recognize them for their participation in the Hour of Code.
So I'm gonna turn this over to Mr. Rohde and Mr. Wittoon. If you could come up and bring your peers with you. And I know Mr. Rohde has put together a nice short video that we'll start out with, perhaps, to demonstrate the Hour of Code. All right, so Mr. Rohde, you want to kick it off by just talking a little bit about your experience?
What we did is we had a bunch of high school students go down to GLW and AIM as an experiment to see how it would work having high school computer science students teaching elementary students how to do this hour of code. And what we realized is that it went very well, and they needed very little guidance from the high school students. They were really able to do a lot of this on their own. It was a lot easier than we thought it would be, and it was a great experience for everyone. So thanks for letting us experiment with it. Hopefully we can spread it in the future, and we have some time to think about next year and how to spread it. And I know at the middle school, they have their own devices, so.
Yeah, at the middle school, thanks to this young man who is coding at home, we got the idea of trying it with all the middle schoolers. So through the science department, all middle schoolers, as long as they had science, had the opportunity to do an hour of code. And the kids really enjoyed it. They enjoy an activity where they come back the next day. Hey, Mr. Wittoon, at lunch we were making Flappy Bird apps and we were sending them to each other, and they were calling each other, or they were sending them to each other, and they were playing their own games that they designed. So they really enjoyed it and they really appreciate it. So thanks, John and Dave, for allowing us to do this in the middle school.
I just want to make a quick comment. Peer-to-peer and three-person teaching, older to middle, middle to younger. These are the most critical things that we can do when one has to do what one has learned to another. It reinforces that learning. So thank you all so much for carrying that into so many different areas.
And Shelley and Karen, comments on your experience?
We're just always looking for partnerships with elementary, so we were excited and just thankful to GLW and to East for letting us come in and take our their time, really, too.
Yep, it was really remarkable to see the high school students so engaged with the little kids and, just a different perspective once they came back into the classroom, I think. And that's up to Mr. Rohde for organizing such a wonderful event. I don't think he ever gave himself enough credit, and this was fantastic, so.
It was easy
Nice
to do,
job.
everyone was really excited, so.
And young Mr. Whittoon, any comments from you about your experience?
I was absent on that.
You were.
That's the irony.
That's the irony. Well, I just want to say, when I saw the video, and I also heard from your, my administrative peers all day, how impressed they were with the experience. Watching the video, I was moved to tears. I love seeing, I'll echo what Peter said, I love seeing the interaction and the engagement between our young students and our older students, and it just seemed like a very powerful activity. So thank you for investing the time and making
Thanks
that
for the
difference.
opportunity.
Yeah, and we have a certificate.
I thought it was
You were
nice that
absent, you have to
first
really
graders
earn
took
this.
the hour.
All right, thank you.
Next, we turn to continuous school improvement for our strategic plan quarterly update, and for the direction that we turn to Ms. Miller.
Yeah, so it's that time of the year where we want to give you a quarterly update of where we have been with each of our strategic directions. So I'm going to kick it off and talk to you about our community partnership direction. And we've had a couple of meetings, and recently we've shared with you too the membership of that group. But the state of Wisconsin, through WASDA, which is the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators, they have a similar focus. They're focusing on giving guidance to all the superintendents and school districts across the state about how to better engage with communities. And so that's really perfect and apropos for us as we're working on our work. So we took an activity that Danny and Jane and I had an opportunity to participate with WASDA, and we brought it back here to the district and conducted that same activity with our community partnership group. So some of the things we talked about, because we want to create a 3-year action plan to guide what we do over the next couple of years of our plan. What's our story? What do we want our stakeholders to really know about the Baraboo School District? So we brainstormed through that. And really what it comes down to is we want to show or demonstrate more with our community, how do we grow our students? How does education here in the Baraboo School District affect their personal growth, and how does that growth then affect the whole entire community? We need to do a better job of that. That's the story we want to share. We also want to build community respect and pride. Then we went through and we identified who are those key stakeholders that we need to better engage with the school district. There's some really obvious ones like parents. But we talked about, what about our mental health providers in the community? How can we better engage with them with some of our needs? We talked about our alumni, which I know is a stakeholder group that we've also identified in the past. We talked about board members. How do we better engage you in what we do here in the district? So from there, then we talked about different types and levels of engagement. And so in your packet, and I did bring a colored copy for you tonight, you have in your packet the pyramid of engagement. And this is something that, again, WASDA has put out, and I'll just hold it up here for those of you that are in the audience, that there's different levels of engagement that people can get involved with any organization. And at the very bottom of the pyramid is awareness. Like, I've heard of that. So an example might be grading changes, right? What level of engagement do each of our stakeholders have when it comes to the grading changes that have occurred within the district? And how do we take them to the next level? And a personal example or story that we can share recently from the school district, you're all aware of the great partnership we've had with MSA. And we had Brad Stuchinski from MSA come and present with us at the WSPRA, or the Wisconsin School Public Relations Association conference. And in front of a room, listening to, what are those business education partnerships that we have with the Baraboo School District, he shared that, after experiencing time in our classrooms, He now goes out to the grocery store and he's connected to kids that he's seen in the classroom. They come up to him, they talk, and they share how excited they were about doing some of the engineering projects with him. He looks forward to coming back, and he made a comment in front of the, our audience at the conference that he has been changed by his experience within the school district. He recognizes the work that teachers do. He recognizes the excitement that kids have and the opportunities within his local community to grow that enthusiasm and passion. So he's at a much higher level of engagement, and that's really our goal with all of our stakeholders, to invest themselves in what we're doing here in the school district, and that helps all of our strategic directions then as we work on our progress moving forward. So we talked about those different levels of engagement that we want to take our stakeholders to. And our next job now is we're just working on what are those strategies we're going to use to move people in those different levels of engagement over the next 3 years. And an immediate step that's happening is I have a meeting set up with Betsy, our Baraboo Economic Development Commission, to talk to them about creating more business education partnerships with the school district. So when we come back next time, I'll have that 3-year plan ready to share with you and some progress on some next steps. And let's save questions to the very end. Let's move into modernized community campus. And Jim and Dan are here for that.
Yeah. In the modernized community campus, obviously we've been working side by side with the ad hoc committee of the board with the building needs. So we've met every 3 or 4 weeks and decided recently we're going to back that off a little bit. But in the last 3 months, I think we've done a lot of good things. I think one of those things has been just gathering input and needs from each building and co-curriculars in general. District employees were surveyed regarding their needs, and again, you previously got a report of that, a 6-page, very comprehensive report on what staff members at each of the schools identified in their building. Then even beyond that, I know Kevin, Ed, and Sean met again specifically with co-curriculars. We spent about an hour, listening to coaches and advisors talk about their needs. And then they've also met with the tech ed department, and again, kind of drilled deeper with them. So certainly appreciate all the hours that those 3 have put in and the many meetings and really attempts to reach out and make sure everybody is heard. Our group is really focused. There's 3 areas that we continue to focus on, and that's the instructional needs, the co-curricular needs, and the deferred maintenance. And even though obviously we addressed a lot of needs last summer through the referendum, there's still plenty of needs in Dan O'Brien's area, just building upkeep and maintenance that are even beyond his annual budget. So those are things that we want to make sure we keep on our radar. One of the other things that, one of the last meetings we had with our group, we now meet with Sarah from C.G. Schmidt. She helps guide our process. One of our tasks after the last meeting was to, as a committee, what more information do we need? What questions do we want answered? And for example, one of the questions that came up was, somebody said it'd be helpful to know how many students at the high school are a part of a club or activity and or a part of a sport. And so that's, Renee Teasdale put this spreadsheet together and did a great job, and it's very telling.
And that's in your packets for you.
Yeah. So, nearly just under half of our students participate in a sport, and just more than half participate in a club. So sometimes, again, with co-curriculars, we think that we're talking about a small sliver of our student body, when the truth is that we're talking about half of our student body between clubs and activities. So again, that was very helpful information to know. The other piece to our last meeting was we're really looking to expand and diversify our committee. There's certain areas that we, as we look at our committee and again, working to make sure all of our voices are heard and all of our needs are met. So specifically, we identified that we're looking for people connected to St. Clair, looking for somebody who's maybe a realtor, knows the community from that perspective. We'd like to have a recent Baraboo High School grad on the committee, senior citizen, Native American representation, North Freedom parent. So again, we're really looking to expand and get a broader voice onto our committee, and I think that'll help us. Otherwise, right now, really, we're kind of taking a bit of a breather. We're kind of waiting for CG Schmidt and EUA to start costing out some of the, again, some of the options and needs that people have identified. So for us to move forward, that's kind of our next step, is to wait and see what kind of dollars we're talking about for the different needs. So that's where we're at with the modernized community campus.
And Dan's shaking, he's good, he covered it, okay. All right, then let's shift to personalized learning.
Jane's got 2 documents that she'll be handing out. So really, our personalized learning work group has met twice now. And so the focus of our time together with that group has really been trying to put together a picture of what personalized learning means for us here in Baraboo, given our context. And so our group has come up with 2 graphics that I think really represent what personalized learning is. So it's a teacher's proactive response to our learners' needs, and that's done through a variety of ways where they really differentiate their instruction to meet the learner's needs. And it's teachers personalize the learning through engagement, and that's through not only the content that they present or the student explores, but also giving students voice in terms of the end product that they might produce as part of their learning. Looking at the environment in which that learning happens. With personalized learning, nothing says it has to happen within our 4 brick walls. There's lots of opportunities to explore different learning environments as well. And it's according to the students' interest, readiness, and how they learn best as a learner. So are they more hands-on type of learning student? Are they more visual, auditory? So it's really bringing in all of those aspects into really, just as the name represents, it's really personalizing the learning for each of our students.
So just to add to that, we're really in the process of kind of working through these documents with our group. We've got a great group of people to work with. I think we're at 19. This one here that says voice, choice, path, and place, we sent out, again, this is a work in progress, but really focusing on the fact that personalized learning is anywhere, anytime, that a key to it is feedback that helps the students grow, authentic and meaningful assessments that allow them to make their learning visible, and that it's student-centered. And then, this personalization part that Danny just shared, personalized learning is such a beast to try to define. And, our group as a whole has spent a lot of our time initially really trying to hone in on what does it mean? And, we started out talking about how there are teacher skills that we want to develop to help teachers be able to personalize better. Tools like having a set, tool chest of tech tools at their disposal that they can use to both instruct and to give students an opportunity to make their learning visible, right? To showcase their learning. Tools to facilitate learner-centered classrooms, things like learning profiles. What's kind of neat is that a lot of the other initiatives that we have, like academic and career planning, will provide us with tools to help us personalize instruction better, right? So they're kind of interwoven. But then also, a part of our first brainstorming process was just talking about the need to have collaborative efforts to facilitate personalized learning, things like instructional rounds, talent sharing among teachers, scope and sequence overhaul and an alignment. So we've had a lot of ideas brainstormed, working on the graphic. This, I think, kind of digs deep into all of the different things that personalized learning can be, including an incredible sort of online and blended learning component that Shelley is going to have a chance to showcase for you in just a few moments.
All right, and then the last strategic direction, we saved the best for last, Mr. Canal.
Maximizing the potential of learners and educators. And I tell you, we've met twice and we've got a really engaged group of educators that are really committed to really owning the work. And I think that's really what this is all about. It's about owning the work for both students and staff. And we focus mainly on three things, and the first is responsive use of data for both students and staff. From a student perspective, that means really sitting down and owning, your data where you're at, being able to identify where you're at, being able to set growth targets, and then really committing your learning to meeting those growth targets. For educators, the responsive use of data can mean a lot of things, but in my educational career, we went from never using data to having all of this data that we didn't know what to do with, to now really being able to use that data to provide meaningful instruction and meaningful experiences for kids. And the other tenets are high quality feedback with our students. I know at the middle school, we've really made a focus through our grading changes to really focus on feedback more than just numbers, so that we can provide them with a roadmap for what a student needs to do to improve, as opposed to just giving them a grade and moving on to the next thing. And we're really trying to focus on what does that number mean, and what does the feedback tell you you need to do next. And this is probably the first year where I've really felt that our kids are really starting to own that, where they're really starting to understand that it's not about just turning in the work, getting the grade, and moving on, but it's about getting some feedback based on where you're at and what you need to do to continually improve. And we're starting to look at the learning more than just the attainment of a number or a grade. For educators, that high fidelity feedback comes through our coaching model. It comes through our evaluation model, and really using that specific feedback to improve our instructional practices so we can help kids grow. And then lastly, the personalized growth, which ties into the personalized learning. What does that mean on a day-to-day level, and helping to define that. And for our students, we're really focusing on the expansion of options for kids, whether they be online options or blended options. The GT programming that we're doing to meet the needs of our high-level learners, and specific and timely interventions for kids who are struggling with things that they need assistance with, and we can provide them with some targeted assistance in a very timely manner to respond to their needs. And for adults, the personalized growth is really about owning their own professional development. And again, as a teacher, I've been through that era where we sat in a room and we kind of got preached to. And everybody was there, and half the people sitting there said, this has nothing to do with my daily work and what I do with kids. Well, now it's about really personalizing the professional development experience so that every learner, adult and child, when they're exposed to those things, it's something that is of value to them. And we've been really focusing on things like EdCamp for staffs, and using social media to connect with educators outside of just Baraboo, and really having exciting professional discourse with educators around the world. And I think what that does for staff is that gives them a sense of focus and a sense of they're in the driver's seat in terms of their own professional development, and there are no boundaries or restrictions. And I think it's really, really exciting. The two meetings we've had, I've walked out of those meetings going, boy, we're really on the right road right now. So I'm excited about that.
And this graphic really fits both of these groups so well, in that this is really about, maximizing the potential of all learners.
I was just going to add to that. I think there's a lot of coherence and focus when you look at the 4 strategic directions. There's overlap, and we're working towards the same goals, and I think that's great to give us that focus that we need as a district. So we'd like to address any questions that you might have about our progress so far.
I'm glad I didn't miss a meeting when I was gone, because I enjoy that committee very much.
Well, thank you
Thank you.
for the update. Brings us then to B under continuous school improvement, which is the full-time virtual options for Baraboo School District students. And that is in your board packet, and Shelley is here to address any questions anyone may have and talk a little bit about it.
So we offer a wide variety of options to our students. Currently, we allow students to be in the building for an online block in which they take their online course. We have the flexibility to allow a student to be released from that block and to do their online programming from home. And we've let students know that we really have increased their ability to do so up to about a 50%. But that's not quite enough. We still have students who leave our district because we do not have a full-time option available, and we would like to offer that, and we're in a position where we can start doing it second semester. So in your board packet was provided a document that was created to essentially share with the community, share with students, so that they can understand the process of what it would entail to apply for full-time online and what to expect, in addition to the course offerings that we have available grades 9 through 12. So at this time, I'd like to answer any questions that you might have and promote you saying yes down in your further agenda items. Yes.
It appeared to be extremely comprehensive, and I've always felt that virtual learning should be under the banner of the public school system. And I'm glad to see that we are putting our stake in the ground to define our educational outreach, not only within, but also without. So thank you for that work.
My pleasure.
How many students do you think you can handle
Our goal
as
is
full-time?
is to start with 10 and market it for about that, and then we will have to take a look at the growth of that should the need arise.
The questions are great. That is, have you done this before? Do you know what you're getting into? So some students may apply and be rejected. Is that possible? Is that, I mean, it's an application.
Yes, that is.
So you're looking for students who understand how it works and who are applying for what we might consider the right reasons.
Yes. It is inevitable that somebody will apply and it might not be successful, so we're looking at a semester re-entry if needed, if we find that the online full-time from home is not the right fit.
I think what's important to know about this, this guide coming together and bringing this forward to you today is there's new flexibility with the state that allows us to offer full-time learning to our students. We've always had the resources here to do so, but we've been a little bit prohibited from the state in moving forward. Recently, there's that flexibility, and we've worked very closely. Shelley has worked really closely with John Jacobs from the Wisconsin eSchool Network, who's also a significant contributor to the Wisconsin Digital Learning Collaborative. And we also had members of DPI vet this guide that Shelley's worked hard to put together for you to make sure that we are taking the proper steps as a district to move forward with full-time learning options. We know, as Shelley said, that we've lost students in the past to virtual schools that offer the same programming that we can offer with the same resources that we have here. We just haven't been able to do that full-time. It might also attract families to our district too. So we'd like to try it small and make sure we can sustain this and then talk about growing this as we move forward.
Anyone have any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley.
As mentioned, that's coming up under new business
Yes.
for additional discussion. Brings us then to the area of the agenda entitled Personnel Recommendations. The first under A is the approval of a hire. Christy Burning for East, 3rd grade. I would entertain a motion for that hire.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Riley. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to B, approval of a resignation. This would be from the Communications, Marketing, and Project Specialist position, Nikki Green.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion?
Just wish her well. I think she's done an incredible job for the district, and it is an indication that if we as a district we are waking up to the idea with virtual schools and choice and all kinds of quote competing markets, that we have a great story to tell and we have a great product of which none can match, and we need to market that. So I would hope that we would be looking for someone to replace Nikki when she moves into her professional arena.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to the approval of postings. First is for that same position, the Communications, Marketing, and Project Specialist.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Riley. Any discussion on the posting? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us into the Bilingual Resource Specialist posting.
And for that, Jane, do you just want to provide an explanation?
Sure. The ELL team of Emily Arenzi, Jory Ruff, and Hope Miller applied for a Title III Immigrant Youth Grant that they were the recipients of. And written into that grant was a additional support person to serve similarly to the way that Brenda Barahona serves our district as a bilingual, bicultural sort of assistant. And this is a one-year position funded entirely by the grant, salary and fringes, that will just run through this school year.
This person would be housed where?
That's a good question. There have been some shifts in student population. We lost a student recently. Originally, the thought was that this person would spend most of his or her time at the elementary level. And I'm guessing that still is probably going to be the case because Brenda serves the high school primarily presently, so.
So then we would be hiring somebody through June?
Correct. And it's a little bit tricky, you know, it's contingent too on finding the person with the skill set needed for this position. But, you know, I'm excited about the possibility to add additional staff for the remainder of the year.
Is it time prohibitive if we're not able to find someone with the right credentials or suitability? Are we able to use the monies for the grant next year?
We are not, unfortunately.
I'd entertain a motion for that posting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Cummings. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Good luck. Let us know, please. Brings us then to D, the approval of long-term substitutes, of which there are two. We can take them together. East Reading Specialist Kathy Lobenstein and 2 St. Clair Tommy Bartlett 4K Gloria Carlson.
I'll second it.
Sean?
McNevin made the motion, seconded by Cummings. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us then to new business. First up is the approval of the full-time virtual options for Baraboo School District students that was presented earlier under continuous school improvement. I would entertain a motion for that approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Riley, seconded by Vedro. Any discussion?
Is there a cost to the curriculum, or is this part of our eSchool network connection?
Sure. Shelley, do you want to speak
With
to that?
all enrollments through eSchool Network, there is a cost associated with it. It is a lot cheaper if we can hire our local Baraboo teachers. However, we can't expect our staff to cover all 250 courses, so we will have to network out. Currently, we have a healthy budget to support the enrollment of 10 students, and then subsequent years, we will need to take a look at funding as it becomes available. But within the program guide and our board policy for all online enrollments, we do say that it is based on funding available and teacher availability.
But we also build credit within the network for providing instruction, correct?
That's correct, yes. So currently, we have Kristen Terry, who is a statewide teacher, so she provides education for students all over the state, which allows us to essentially bring income into the district, and the more teachers that we can build in that capacity, the better. And we've got our annual meeting in February to determine how Baraboo fits into the overall big plan with our 28+ partners.
And then could someone explain the nuance of this, the open enrollment, that it's not a virtual charter school and that students who are open enrolled from another district may not participate as guided by Wisconsin virtual charter school statutes?
Correct, so.
Break it down into English for me.
So a student who is open enrolled to Baraboo must do all of their online programming within the brick and mortar setting. They are unable to do it from home in a virtual setting because we do not have a virtual charter for our district. And that comes directly from DPI.
It's one of the inflexible pieces.
Yeah. However, we have had a number of students who are in the Baraboo district who have open enrolled out or have chosen homeschool because they want to do virtual options. And our goal is to target those students or possibly bring our homeschool students back into the district.
And Danny came prepared today to share.
So
Yeah.
currently, we have 26 students that are attending a virtual charter school. So if we look at how much revenue that is taking away from the district, it's about $172,000 in state aid that we are losing for those 26 students.
And so they're going to a state chartered virtual school. In other words, just a curriculum corporation that's sucking those dollars out of the state.
Well, virtual schools operated by districts. For example, McFarland has a virtual charter school.
But McFarland has little to no responsibility for any of those students, correct? They're just essentially the front to enroll into their virtual charter school so that those dollars then go to whoever's running the curriculum program, right?
Well, I don't know specifically which program they use, but they do have a virtual charter school principal. They do monitor student progress. They rescind open enrollment if students aren't making adequate progress. So I do think they monitor their students pretty closely.
But they do use a vendor for their program.
Right, so
yeah.
they use a vendor, so they pay for that service, because I think McFarland said they make $250,000 a year.
Well, more than that.
So
Yeah.
then, but what happens to that student's record when they open enroll out of here into McFarland and they don't succeed? Where does that responsibility lie? Does it lie with McFarland?
Mm-hmm.
McFarland notifies us that they are rescinding that student's open enrollment status, and then we follow up with that family if they don't re-enroll with us, because by law, they need to be enrolled somewhere or else attending homeschool. So we do follow up with those families.
So if that student drops out or fails out, that then it essentially becomes a mark on us, right?
Well, when they're enrolled in that setting, or even though it's not a setting, when they're enrolled as a virtual school student with McFarland, their accountability, like let's say they perform poorly on their standardized assessments, they still have to produce on those standardized assessments, and McFarland is held accountable for that.
Yeah,
But-
until they bounce them out.
Till
of the
they
network.
bounce them out, then
And
what
they go,
Danny's
"Hey, wait
saying
a
is
minute,
then it
you're
becomes our
doing, so we're
responsibility.
revoking
Yes.
your charter.
Right.
You're nice.
Yeah, that's the system.
We do have a number of virtual programs within our partnership for eSchool Network. And Janesville, as an example, I know that we have a young lady who is attending there right now. What's really great about our partnership is that all of our districts are in agreement that we want you to have your own kids and keep your own kids. So should we be able to offer full-time online, then we would be able to bring back that student who is open enrolled out to Janesville.
And is that student studying the same curriculum if she switches mid-year?
She's doing the exact same courses that we would offer through our programming, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so having a motion and a second, any further discussion?
The priority in terms of our marketing efforts, we have how many homeschooled students in our district? I seem to remember over the years, that number has,
A little over 100, maybe?
yeah, somewhere in the 100. I would recommend that we do a full court press as we have laid out an invitation to homeschool parents and students to be engaged in extracurricular and into sports. I really think we need to have a strategy for utilizing the arts, sports, as well as our education components to introduce to parents the fact that their students can be homeschooled under this new banner and receive all of the benefits of the district that they pay for as taxpayers and that they should have access to, as well as, of course, supporting the district.
Any further discussion? Hearing none and having a motion and a second, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
Brings us then to B, the approval of receipts and disbursements. I will turn to Chair of Finance, Mr. McNevin.
Move to approve. And I will second that.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Also from Finance, the business insurance renewal.
Move to approve.
And I will second it.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to the approval of the 2016-17 budget calendar.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Items E, F, and G come out of BG and T. Mr. O'Brien is here. If anyone from the
X, Y, and
board
Z.
has any questions of any of those three suggested projects, and I will turn to Mr. Cummings.
I will make a motion to approve E, F, G, and H. No. and
Yeah,
S,
keep
G.
going, no, keep going. Just throw I and J in there, and we're good to go.
E, F, and G.
Anyone want a second?
Do a second.
Oh, sure, I'll second it.
Having a motion by Cummings, seconded by McNevin. Any further discussion?
Any questions, Dan would be sure to, like, to answer. This is pretty mundane maintenance, pretty much.
Mundane, he called it mundane maintenance.
No respect.
Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Thanks for being here nonetheless, Dan. Brings us then to H, which Mr. Cummings wanted to motion earlier. Now we have a motion from Mr. McNevin and a second from
I will
Mr.
second.
Cummings. These
Can't
are
go home until
for,
you second it.
these are for the 2016-17 4K contracts, and I'd like to back up a step and
Yep.
take the first one by itself. I need to abstain from that. I would appreciate it if you would motion that one by itself and then take the other four.
Move to approve.
Having a motion previous, would you guys amend your motion?
Yes, we would.
Duo on the end?
Yeah.
Okay. So first up, we have Baraboo Daycare's contract. Entertain a motion, or entertain a vote for that. So those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, I will abstain. Brings us then to 2 through 5. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Having a motion by Mr. Bedrow, seconded by McNevin. Any discussion on 2 through 5? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us then to the approval of the certifications to be recognized under the teacher compensation matrix. We can do them individually, or if there's a comfort level, do them all three.
Move to approve with comfort level.
Second.
Having a motion by Mr. McNevin, seconded by Mr. Vedro for the safety instructor certification, the American Speech Language Hearing Association clinical certification, and the National Board recertification. Any further discussion?
I would want to make sure that some of our teachers who already have been nationally board certified fall into this category.
Already take care.
Great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to J, Mr. McNevin.
Well, now that we're running an hour ahead of schedule, I can bring you up to speed on J. Actually, Jim covered everything in solid detail. Just so the board kind of gets that comfort level as we look at the pyramid of engagement, we want to get you up into the belief category, if not up into the commitment category tonight. But throughout the work of the committee, the ad hoc committee, it's been a lot of work. But as we start to engage the professional support and help of C.G. Schmidt and the EUA, it's quite clear as we'll be building a master plan for our existing structures. As we look to modernize our community campus and upgrade our instructional spaces, we look to improve our co-curricular spaces, and we look to stay ahead of that mundane maintenance curve that we've got. And so what we've done is we've collected the raw data. You've seen a lot of that data dump, but what we're going to do is work with C.G. Schmidt and EUA and start to build a master facility plan that we can take out to the public and say, look, these are the levels of investments that we need to make over the next 10, 12 years so that we can use the buildings for another 40, 50 years, rather than allow them to continue to age and get 20 years out and have to start looking at building new somewhere else. But it gets very difficult in prioritizing. It gets very difficult in messaging, and until you start to understand the entire scope of what we're looking at. What are the building's needs? What are those dollars going to cost? What kind of footprint changes? And what kind of, is it new? Is it remodeled? Those kind of things. And so we're starting to pull that together with the help of C.G. Schmidt and EUA. We'll also be looking for additional support. Jeff brought forth the finance. We need a financial advisor. We've always used Baird in the past to help us with the numbers. We've got discussions beginning with the survey company, School Perceptions. That's another professional contract. Because all of this hinges on us getting the message out to the public, building that knowledge, building that pyramid of engagement so that they can determine what level they want to step in at. So it's kind of exciting. We're still on that truncated timetable, but we're still rocking and rolling. The next big stuff will be coming back to the board in February, right? Mm-hmm. With some rough.
I would just add, I think it would be very important when we reach out to the community that the work of the district and what we're trying to accomplish is integrated into Betsy as Baraboo Economic Development, into Sauk County, because I think a lot of our community needs to understand that we, as a school district, are a central magnet to economic development and the sustaining of standards of living. More than just facilities improvement, the investment is not just in brick and mortar, the investment is in something intangible but can be documented in terms of economic development of what a school district does for a community. All of the things that we've talked about today and before, reaching out, expanding to our home students, online education, the arts, what we did with sports and the arena. I mean, all of these things are one living system, and I think that may be something that would help our citizens recognize that the investment that we're asking is economically sound and grounded.
I totally agree. I think when we did this last time, people that are involved in that process get that. Intuitively, they get that the schools really are one of the main engines that drives the community and the economy. But when the school district made the strategic partnerships and community partnerships as part of its strategic plan, and you start seeing those connections being made throughout the community, it is really snowballing. You have organizations coming to the schools now all the time wanting to be part of it. So, 4 years ago, we had very few connections. And now you look at the manufacturing, and you look at the healthcare, and you look at the service industries that are coming to us saying, yeah, we want to be part of the curriculum, we want to be part of the solution. I think everybody, a lot more people are getting it now than they were 5 years ago. So that's where we're at. We're still going strong, right, Kevin?
Yes, we are.
I know you guys are working hard, but I think the work is valuable, necessary if we are to move ahead, so thank you.
All right, thank you for the update, Mr. McNevin. Brings us then to the item entitled closed session, and before we do that, I'd like to remind the public this is our last regular meeting of the year, so I'd like to take an opportunity to once again thank everybody that's with us at the tables tonight, those that are in the audience, wish everybody a happy holiday and a happy new year. That having been said, I'd entertain a motion to go to closed session according to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub C.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Riley. Roll call. Cummings?
Aye.
McNevin?
Aye.
Riley? Vedro? Bodak? Aye.